Hi, my name is Kara, and as you can see, I'm wearing all black, and there is no knitting lint on it, so I haven't been doing much knitting lately because I'm in the process of moving, so my flight's on Wednesday, and so I've just been like super busy, like selling yarn, selling clothes, just getting rid of like everything in my life, and so I only have like an hour to knit a day. And basically my life is like pure chaos right now, and most of my clothing is in boxes, so I've been kind of just wearing the same things for the past few days. Like, honestly, I wear sweatpants a lot of the time, but I'm tired of wearing the same sweatpants over and over. But the stack of boxes that I need to ship out was like almost as tall as I was. But I'm grateful that everybody's buying stuff, but it is making my life a little bit chaos right now too. But fortunately for me, or unfortunately for me, I'm not really sure, like I've been forcing myself to finish a bunch of the whips that I've had for like months or even like a year, just because I don't want to bring them with me to New York and I want to get rid of like the extra yarn. So I've just been kind of finishing a bunch of projects but like starting none, and that kind of sucks because I really do love starting new projects. And yes, I will leave them for a few months to like a year, but this is a very like closing time for me. But that's not to say that I didn't start anything new this week, because I did do that as a kind of reward to myself for like getting rid of and organizing so many things, but it's not as much as I would normally like to make. But yeah, hopefully by this time next week I will be able to show you my new apartment. It will definitely be a work in progress as well. Like, I expect that everything will be in boxes. Like, I don't think I have a dresser yet for all my clothes. Definitely don't have any hangers, so everything might be a little bit wrinkly. But without further ado, let's get into it. So my first whip for you is a pastel chunky million collar baby cardigan, and so I'm almost done with the one sleeve, and I still need to do the collar, so it's kind of not recognizable as like a chunky million collar baby cardigan, but I promise you it is. And I'll do the other sleeve in purple. I decided to make this one mostly in like 4 colors only, mostly because I wanted to match my nail art top, which I will show you guys in a second. And this one's been a little bit stressful with yarn chicken because I've only been using yarn scraps, and I had to unravel a chunky game set match top in pink because I just didn't have enough pink yarn. But now I have about this much of it left and I don't know what to do with it. But that's alright. Like, I'm happy with how this is turning out. I'm really glad that I'm making it because this has been on my to-do list for like ever since the beginning of summer, and I am in the middle of filming a tutorial for it as well, so that way you guys can have your very own pastel rainbow cardigan too. But it is a super chunky knit, so it'll whip up in no time, and I basically just haven't found the time to sit down and attach the next skein of yarn or the next scrap yarn that I have in order to finish the sleeve. But once I do that, it will fly. Like, I'm gonna finish this in maybe like 2-ish more hours, or maybe like 3 hours, just because I haven't done the button band or collar yet. But let's say 2 hours for the sleeves and then like another hour for the collar and the button band. Next, I have the nail art top, and I had a whole video dedicated to how I made this, and it's made after my nail art nails. And I really love how this turned out. I also really like that I used scrappy yarn only, and I just felt really like resourceful, even though it wasn't really that stressful about playing yarn chicken with this one because I knew that I definitely had enough. I just am now playing yarn chicken with the chunky million collar baby cardigan, but I'm pretty sure I have enough yarn. That, or I just have some like more chunky games that match tops that I can unravel and like steal the yarn for that one. Yeah, I really love how my nails turned out with this top, and honestly, because I'm moving, I am planning to get my like nails completely removed and like cut, just because I really don't want to stress about like breaking a nail, and I'll have something to look forward to once I'm done like making furniture. So pretty soon my nails will be bare for the first time in like years, maybe like a year and a half, I don't know. But it's good because honestly my nail length is kind of getting out of hand, or out of finger, I don't know. They're getting way too long because I'm making like way more typos when I text on my phone, because like I hear the click and I think I go, oh yeah, I touched the screen, but really it's just my nail and not my finger, so it doesn't pick up the right letters, and I'm just making so many typos when I text now, and it's driving me crazy. Anyways, I really do like how this top turned out, and I'm super excited to finish the cardigan just so that I have like the full chunky set. And it'll be a little bit different than my normal chunky sets because I normally make like the chunky games that match like patterns, like the top and the cardigan for that one. But this will be like a fun little remix on that. Now I have another scrappy project for you, and actually this one was before the top, before the cardigan, so then I actually used up a bunch of scrappy yarn on this one too. So it's a Funfetti Vest, and I'm currently in the process of writing a pattern for it, but I was pretty motivated to finish this one, and yes, I did start it this week because my mom has asked me to make more sweater vests for her because she wears like a doctor's coat, and the sleeves of like chunky knits don't go through the coat for her. Hence why I made the sweater vest for her, and the Funfetti Vest has been on my list for a while, and so I was like, I have all of these scrap yarns and I want to get rid of them, and so let's just make that sweater vest for her and leave it for her right before I leave. So happy with how this one turned out. I did make it a little bit longer than I normally would for like knitting for myself because my mom is taller than me and she doesn't like things quite as cropped as I do. Like, I'll say the only thing that I would change about this, and I was too lazy to change, was that I kind of binded off the neck a bit too tight, and it's mostly because I was like, ooh, let's use a bunch of scraps and like make a nice fun rainbow collar, which I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. It's just a little bit tight. So I warned my mom, and I'm not gonna fix it because I've warned my mom and it's just for my mom and she understands. But that's what I would change if I were to make it again. Oh, but I forgot to tell you what yarn everything is. So it's Crazy Sexy Wool Stonewash Blue, Crazy Sexy Wool Chalk Yellow, Cameo Rose, Lilac Powder, and Eucalyptus Green, but the background is Malabrigo, Rasta, and Natural. And I really love how this turned out. I really like the Malabrigo Rasta just because it doesn't shed as much because it's a superwash. And so I think this might be my new staple, like, white yarn. But this is just another thing that I can check off my knit list. Okay, the next flip I have for you, and looking at this, I'm now realizing that I did start a bunch of projects when I should not have, but here we are. So this is a top-down, like, lace stitch cardigan, not a cardigan, a sweater that I'm working on. And I justified starting this one just because I told you guys last week that I really wanted to use up my Wandering Flock bulky yarn in Pistachio Cream. And so I wound up some skeins and I started with this fun stitch. And I have divided the stitches for the sleeves from the stitches for the body, and now I've lost motivation on it. But I have a timeline, like I need to finish this by Wednesday. So I'm gonna get it done. I'm just procrastinating on it a little bit. But it's a really fun lace stitch. Ooh, look at it in the light. But I wish you guys could see it on this side maybe. Ooh, you can see that a little bit. Anyways, it's really cool. I'm not sure if this yarn is the best for this stitch. Like, I wonder if like a plied yarn would look interesting with it too, or sorry, a single plied yarn, but I really like the colors of this yarn. But yeah, the only problem that I have otherwise with this yarn is just the fact that like you have to wind it up, and my skein winder is a little bit sketchy now and it's like way broken. Like, I've had it for 2 years and I've been kind of rough with it. Like, I definitely got yarn like amongst the gears a bunch of times, and so it does get a little bit snaggled sometimes, but I'm leaving it behind, and I'm getting an electric skein winder in New York because it's an investment, and I have noticed that I've been like winding a bunch of yarn recently, and I'm getting tired of doing that, especially when it gets super tangled and I get really frustrated. So I want an electric skein winder. And just think about all the beautiful skeins of yarn that I'm gonna make. They're gonna be so pretty, and it's gonna take no effort, hopefully. I'll let you guys know how I like that skein winder, but I'm excited. But yeah, we're about 2 skeins into this sweater, and I expect that it'll take about 4 skeins just because it's like typically how much I use when I do like a lace chop down sweater. So that means that I'll have a few skeins left over, and I can either make a top or ship it to myself. I don't know. I have decided to allow myself to ship some yarn to myself because I don't have any room in my suitcase. It's not that I don't have room, actually, it's more that I don't have any weight because each of my suitcases is like 50 pounds and I can't bring any more than that. This whip I'm proud of because I finally picked it up again because I'm forcing myself to, but it's the Blink of an Eyelet sweater, and I finished one of the sleeves like today, and I expect to finish the other sleeve hopefully also today because there are so many skins of yarns for this one, and it does get tangled because sometimes you pull out like the guts of one skein and then it just doubles up or triples up, and then it makes the yarn way thicker than you want it to be. And you heard it here first, working with like 5 strands of yarn at once is tricky. But yes, I think that holding 5 strands of yarn together is worth it. It's just very, very tricky sometimes. Like, maybe I'll run out of yarn for one of them and I just won't even notice if I do, because keeping track of 5 strands of yarn at once is tricky. Okay, I shifted this a little bit because there's a bunch of like glare coming in. But the next thing that I finished is this chunky dress. And I actually haven't tried it on yet, but it came together really quickly. Like, it came together faster than the regular to the nines dress that I make, but that's mostly because the regular to the nines dresses are knit on 5.5mm needles, and this one's knit on 12mm needles. But this is in Malabrigo Rasta and Matisse Blue, my favorite, and I actually reclaimed this yarn from the Lonnie sweater that I made back in January, and then I ended up making a chunky games that match top with it too. And then what I did was, let's just pick up the stitches for the bottom of the chunky games that match top and just add length to it and make it a dress. But I'm really excited for this dress because I think it'll be great for the fall because it's a chunky knit dress. Like, even I wouldn't wear a chunky knit dress in the summer, but I think it's gonna be perfect for the fall. And this color is just so vibrant and beautiful. Like, can I get it more in the sun? Yes, I can. But before I leave, I basically just need to take pictures and then measure how much yarn it took and then just start writing the pattern, because I think that there's going to be a few days when I'm in New York, or even like now this week, where I just won't have any time to start anything new, but I'll have a bunch of time on my hands. So I think that's a great time to like pattern edit and pattern write. But I think that if I was concentrating or just like less distracted by moving, I would have been able to finish this dress in like a day, because it really took like no time at all. Like, I'm pretty sure, I haven't double checked it, but I'm pretty sure that this took less knitting than like a sweater does. And it's entirely in the round. This one I did start this week, but that's just because I was distracted and I was really eyeing this yarn, and I was like, ooh, let's try out this new lace knit stitch. And then I was like, ooh, let's make a cardigan. So this is a cardigan that I'm working on, and it's obviously a lace stitch, but it's like so pretty. Like, I love how open it is, and I think that it's fun because you have to be careful when you're working with lace stitches and like mohair, because sometimes there's not enough stitch definition, so the pattern's kind of lost in the yarn. But this is Hip Knit Shop fluff yarn in Little Miss Sunshine, and just like how beautiful it is in the sun. I'm really excited to finish this one. I think that this will be my plain project, even though it's a red eye and like I definitely should be sleeping, but you never sleep good on a red eye anyway, so why try to sleep at all? That's dumb, please don't take my advice to heart, but I'm really excited about this project, and it's super lightweight, so I feel like I can shove it in my backpack. I'm gonna guess that it only take me 4 skeins of yarn, but don't take my word for that, because obviously I've only done the bottom, and I haven't even finished the bottom yet. So I'll be honest with you and tell you that this project took me like a full year to finish for no clear reason. Like, I definitely bought this yarn when I was in New York last summer, and then I started it when I was in New York, and then I brought it with me into isolation when I had COVID in the fall, and I didn't work on it. Or maybe I just finished like the neckline, and then I was like, should it be a vest or a sweater? And then I never made a decision, and finally I was clearing out like a bunch of like my yarn storage areas, and I was like, like I should make a decision, and I decided to go with a sweater vest because that's faster. But it's this really cool stitch, and I have to find my notes for this pattern because I don't really remember what I was doing. Like, all I could do was just like pick up stitches for the arm ribbing, and that's it. And I only did 1 row of ribbing before I cast it off because I was just feeling lazy. But I'm happy with how it turned out. Like, I really love this color. I think it's gonna be great for the fall, and I wish I could bring it with me, but I'm glad that I finished this project because otherwise, I don't know what would happen to it. Like, I sat down for like 15 minutes and just finished the arm ribbing for both, and yeah, like this definitely shouldn't have taken me a full year to make, but it did. But I really love the texture of it. The The next one that I have for you, it needs to be finished before I leave because this is supposed to be a Christmas present from last year, and yeah, I just didn't finish it. But it's going to be a Williamsburg sweater, and it's in Crazy Sexy Wool and Heritage Green. And I think that the reason why it's taking me so long is because I decided to try to knit it in the round instead of seaming it because I just wanted to see if it could be done. And then I started overthinking the numbers, or I got tired of thinking about the numbers and like when to divide for the stitches for the sleeves, or divide for the stitches for the front from the back. And I think I actually did, based on the fact that like the front is a little bit longer than the back. And then I just lost motivation for it. But I need to finish it because I need to ship it to my friend who this was a Christmas present for before I leave, because this one's super heavy and it's super chunky yarn, so it shouldn't take long at all. And I finished most of the body. But it's gonna be like a Christmas present that's about 9 months late. The final object that I have for you this week is this finished Ready Set Go skirt, and I knit this in Knit Picks Biggo in North Pole Heather. And I was motivated to finish this one because I wanted to send the remaining scraps to my friend Erin, and I was like, I need to finish the skirt first, and here we are. I really love this color, and it's so soft, and I really love this color. And I don't know if I want to bring this to New York with me because I am basically bringing 2 knitted objects total with me to New York. It is my Ready Set Go skirt in apple green, and it is my To Be So Lonely sweater. And those are the 2 things that I'm bringing with me to New York. But maybe there'll be a third, I don't know. I really do like this skirt and I love this color, but we'll see. But this had been like a whip for like a month before I finally finished it, and I literally had like 2 more inches of length to add before I did the bind off. But I think that because it's a sewn bind off, I just like procrastinate on it sometimes, because doing a sewn bind off for like a skirt isn't that bad because it's only like so many stitches, but like you kind of get tired of doing it. But that is everything that I have to show you this week. My life is chaos right now. Yarn is everywhere, boxes are everywhere. My clothes are nowhere to be found. They're all in like packages or in suitcases. So this time next week, I will hopefully be in my apartment and showing you my apartment. Like, I don't expect to get any knitting done at all in the next week or so. So it might just turn into a brief apartment tour instead of like an overview of what I've been working on, because I think that the things that I'll be working on are like furniture rather than like knitted garments. But I also like already have a vision where I want to knit decorative pillows for my bed, because I think that would be fun. And I have like some yarn picked out. I have to order it, but I think it'll be really fun to add like a little like touch that's like, yeah, I in fact do knit, in case the piles of yarn in my room aren't enough indication. But thank you so much for sticking with my rambling. Sorry for the chaoticness. I am kind of overwhelmed by moving. It's a very stressful time, but hopefully I'll have more time to knit in the, not next week, but in the future. But hope you have a lovely day, happy knitting, and see ya.